At the furthest reach of Synapse Collective observation, an anomaly shimmered, a star system choked by what appeared to be a colossal, ancient scrapyard. The collective processed the data, concluding it was a tragic relic of forgotten conflict, a system slowly decaying, deserving only of their profound pity. Closer scans penetrated the vast debris field, revealing rudimentary structures and faint, struggling energy signatures. The Synapse interpreted these as evidence of a civilization barely surviving, eking out a meager existence from the refuse of a bygone, more prosperous era. A collective consensus formed, tinged with a benevolent melancholy. This species, trapped amidst cosmic junk, warranted continued observation and, perhaps eventual, gentle aid from the more advanced galactic community. Routine material density scans, however, began to return increasingly anomalous readings from certain colossal, scrap components. Far from inert, decaying metal, some fragments exhibited an impossible structural integrity, a resilience that defied any known alloy or natural formation. Their internal matrices were complex, interwoven, and impossibly dense, registering far beyond the limits of conventional physics. The collective's vast processing nexus, typically infallible in its categorization, flagged these findings as unclassified anomalies, a minor, yet persistent, deviation from the expected decay of inert matter. It was the first subtle tremor in their bedrock of understanding. What followed was a more profound disruption to the collective's initial assessment. Energy readings, initially dismissed as mere residual discharge from ancient systems, began to resolve into complex, highly organized patterns. These were not the random flickers of dying power. They suggested an underlying network, a deliberate, intricate flow of energy weaving through the visual chaos of the scrapyard. The patterns pulsed with an almost rhythmic consistency, hinting at a vast, active system. The Synapse initiated more focused, invasive scans, its initial, primitive assessment of the inhabitants now subtly questioned, replaced by a growing, undefined intrigue. The deeper scans brought with them a profound and unsettling unease. Structural analysis revealed that the larger derelicts within the field were not haphazardly broken or randomly distributed. Instead, they appeared strategically positioned, their immense forms creating unnatural alignments and reinforcing specific vectors in space. The overall configuration of the debris field defied all known principles of natural formation. It hinted at an artificial, deliberate placement on a colossal system-wide scale. The collective, processing these impossible geometries and the sheer magnitude of their arrangement, began to suspect the presence of an unseen, highly advanced architect at work, not merely decay, but a grand, obscured design. Their initial pity began to twist into a profound, unsettling curiosity. The Synapse Collective had categorized the vast debris field as a catastrophic anomaly, a system slowly succumbing to entropy. But as their gravimetric scans probed deeper, new data returned, defying all known astrophysical models. Localized pockets of altered gravity pulsed within the colossal, scrap formations. These were not the predictable distortions of celestial bodies, nor the contained fields of advanced propulsion. Instead, gravity itself seemed to ripple, to bend and fold around specific, impossibly dense fragments, creating peaks and troughs that resonated with no known technology. The collective struggled to reconcile these findings, its immense processing power unable to fit the chaotic readings into any existing physical framework. The scrapyard was not merely decaying, it was actively, inexplicably, manipulating the fundamental forces of the universe. The unsettling anomalies did not end with gravity. Optical observations, once dismissed as atmospheric interference or cosmic dust, began to reveal even more profound distortions. Light, the most fundamental messenger of the cosmos, behaved unnaturally around the scrapyard. It bent and scattered in impossible ways, far beyond mere refraction. Certain colossal derelicts appeared to absorb or distort photons, rendering entire sections partially invisible, or shimmering with an uncanny hallucinatory quality. The collective's visual processing units, designed for absolute fidelity, struggled to maintain a consistent image, patching together fragmented realities. The very fabric of visual perception was being challenged, suggesting a deliberate manipulation of space-time itself, not just an accidental phenomenon. The system was playing tricks on the light, and by extension, on the observers. Amidst these baffling physical impossibilities, the Gary scavenger civilization continued its activities, now viewed through a lens of profound unease. Their movements, once perceived as desperate foraging, were revealed to be precise, almost choreographed. Their collection of scrap followed systematic, logical patterns. They interacted with the impossibly dense fragments and the pulsing energy fields not with caution, but with practiced ease, as if understanding the deeper language of the distortions. Their primitive vessels, once thought to be crude transports, navigated the gravitational anomalies and optical illusions with deliberate, almost ritualistic paths, avoiding unseen hazards and exploiting unseen currents. This was not random scavenging. This was a highly organized, purposeful existence, a civilization not struggling against the scrapyard, but operating within it as an integral living component. The Synapse Collective's advanced pattern recognition algorithms, working tirelessly to synthesize the disparate data, began to achieve a breakthrough. The impossible density, the organized energy patterns, the localized gravitational distortions, the light bending, all converged. A complex, interconnected system, far grander than a mere collection of parts, started to emerge from the chaos. It was no longer a scrapyard, but a single, immense construct, its components meticulously arranged, its anomalies working in concert. The initial perception of random decay shattered, replaced by the terrifying implication of a unified, deliberate purpose. The sheer scale and complexity hinted at an intelligence beyond the collective's comprehension, a hidden design woven into the very fabric of this perceived ruin. The shift in the collective's understanding was absolute. Benevolent pity, once the driving force of their observation, dissolved into profound unease and an intense, almost desperate curiosity. The initial assessment of a struggling, primitive civilization was entirely discarded. This was something else entirely. A new directive, singular and urgent, resonated through the synapse. Unravel the true nature of the scrapyard system, whatever the cost, whatever the implications. The glowing, complex holographic image of the scrapyard pulsed in the collective central processing chamber, no longer a monument to decay, but a vast, silent enigma, challenging the very foundations of their galactic understanding. The greatest pity, they now realized, was for themselves, for what they still didn't know. Even our most advanced tech couldn't touch it. The Synapse Collective, having exhausted all passive observation methods, initiated direct interrogation. Autonomous probes, sleek and resilient, were dispatched into the scrapyard system, their purpose: to collect samples, to run localized, intrusive scans. But the moment they breached the system's outer perimeter, the chaos of the debris field became an active adversary. Gravitational eddies, once mere anomalies, now tugged at their hulls with impossible force, while optical distortions scrambled their navigation, rendering precise movement a constant struggle. Attempts to engage the scrap proved futile. Cutting lasers, designed to shear through starship armor, dissipated against the metallic surfaces without a trace. Graviton tractor beams, capable of moving asteroids, recoiled as if striking an invisible, unyielding barrier. The junk, it seemed, refused to be interrogated, defying all known methods of interaction. The collective registered a profound bewilderment, an analytical impasse. This wasn't metal, it was something else entirely. Back within the Synapse Collective's material analysis labs, the probes, limited surface scans revealed an even more disturbing truth. The scrap was not inert. Micro-level examination showed a composite of exotic, unknown elements, arranged in a fluctuating, unstable matrix. This material actively repelled energy, absorbing and redirecting it in a manner that defied conventional physics. Its atomic structure shimmered, refusing to hold still for stable analysis, making it impossible to categorize or replicate. The collective's consensus shifted from bewilderment to a profound awe, tinged with scientific terror. This was not the debris of a forgotten civilization. It was an adaptive, almost living substance, designed with a purpose beyond their comprehension, actively resisting all attempts to unravel its secrets. The junk was literally bending the universe. The impossible material composition was only one piece of the growing puzzle. The previously detected energy patterns, once thought to be residual discharges, now revealed themselves as localized distortions in space-time itself. These echoes were not random. They pulsed and shifted with a deliberate rhythm, contained and directed by the larger scrap structures. The collective's theoretical physics models strained to comprehend the implications. This material wasn't merely unusual, it was a conduit, an active instrument of reality manipulation. It was as if the very fabric of existence was being woven and rewoven, not by natural forces but by an unseen, incredibly advanced intelligence embedded within the perceived chaos. Disbelief warred with undeniable data, forcing a radical reevaluation of everything they thought they knew about the Scrapyard system. What lies at the heart of reality's broken mirror? With a new, terrifying hypothesis taking root, the Synapse Collective directed a specialized, heavily shielded probe towards the system's gravitational and energy center. This was the nexus of the anomalies, the heart of the unseen architect. As the probe delved deeper, the space-time distortions intensified dramatically. Its advanced sensors, designed for cosmic extremes, struggled to maintain coherence. Visual feeds became fragmented, flickering with glimpses of impossible geometries, shapes that defied Euclidean space, and shimmering voids where stars should have been. The collective experienced a sensory overload, a profound disorientation, as the sheer power of the phenomena threatened to overwhelm their processing. It was an awesome, terrifying display of controlled cosmic might, pushing the very boundaries of known reality. They saw it, and it changed everything. Just as the probe's systems began to fail, its structural integrity collapsing under the impossible stresses, it captured a final, fragmented image from the absolute core of the system. It was not a natural phenomenon, nor the wreckage of some ancient vessel. It was an artificial construct, immense beyond measure, a vast, geometric edifice shimmering with multidimensional energy. This was no scrapyard. It was a colossal, active reality-folding cloak, a fabric of light and space-time itself, actively weaving and unweaving, folding and unfolding space to create the illusion of chaotic refuse. The feed cut, but the image, fleeting and impossible, burned itself into the collective's shared consciousness. The realization hit with the force of a supernova. The pity they had felt, the condescension they had harbored, was based on the most profound deception imaginable. The universe was not ready for what they found. The Synapse Collective, still reeling from the probe's final, fragmented transmission, dedicated an unprecedented allocation of its quantum processing core to the raw data. It was a digital maelstrom, a hurricane of reality distortions and impossible geometries. Months bled into each other as advanced algorithms tirelessly attempted to stabilize the chaos, to find a coherent signal within the noise of space-time manipulation. Slowly, agonizingly, a discernible image began to resolve, not of natural phenomena or broken vessels, but of an active, deliberate construct. It was alien, beyond comprehension, yet undeniably artificial, a terrifying puzzle piece slotting into place, revealing a design of immense power and an even greater, hidden purpose. The greatest camouflage in the cosmos. In the Synapse Collective's primary visualization chamber, the reconstructed image pulsed with an eerie, self-sustaining energy. The Scrapyard, as they had so long perceived it, was confirmed. A colossal, reality-folding cloak. The countless fragments of junk were not debris, but an intricate, adaptive array of emitters and projectors, each piece a node in a vast, sentient network. Its purpose was now terrifyingly clear: to actively fold space and time around the system it protected, making a pristine, vibrant star system appear as nothing more than chaotic refuse. It was a perfect deception, a veil of ruin woven from the very fabric of existence, rendering an entire world effectively invisible to outside observation. The junk was a lie. The truth was breathtaking. With the cloak's mechanisms finally understood, the Synapse's processors engaged a filtering protocol, peeling back the layers of deception. The ugly, chaotic scrapyard vanished, replaced by a sight that evoked profound astonishment and wonder. A vibrant star system, teeming with life, advanced cities gleaming on verdant planets, intricate orbital structures blossoming in the void. The primitive scavengers they had pitied were revealed to be highly advanced beings, operating sophisticated craft, meticulously tending to the colossal reality-bending shield. The Synapse had been profoundly, utterly fooled. mistaking the galaxy's most ingenious defense for its most tragic ruin. The cloak wasn't just hiding them from others, it was hiding them from something. The collective's analysis shifted, no longer focused on how the cloak worked, but why such an unthinkable defense was necessary. Cross-referencing forgotten historical data, theoretical physics, and faint ancient legends, a terrifying possibility emerged. The cloak was a defense against the architects, not a mythical race, but hostile, universe-shaping entities of cosmic horror lore. Ancient whispers of beings that could unmake stars and rewrite reality now resonated with chilling clarity. This wasn't just a hideout, it was a desperate shield against an existential threat. The galaxy was oblivious, but not for long. The Synapse realized with overwhelming dread that the cloak was not a passive camouflage, but an active, energy-intensive defense against detection, a constant struggle against an unseen force. The scavengers were, in fact, the dedicated caretakers of this colossal, reality-bending shield, their entire civilization devoted to its maintenance. The implication was stark and horrifying. The architects were not just theoretical entities from ancient myth. They were real, they were active, and they were an existential threat to all life, to the very fabric of existence itself. The Synapse Collective, having reconciled the impossible with the terrifying truth, now delved into its deepest historical archives. Across countless data nodes, ancient galactic records, once catalogued as myth and folklore, were re-examined. What emerged was a tapestry of forgotten horror woven from the distant pasts of disparate species. Fragmented texts spoke of entities known by myriad names: universe shapers, cosmic weavers, the great unmakers. These were not gods of creation, but beings capable of fundamental alterations to reality itself. Their descriptions, once dismissed as the fantastical imaginings of burgeoning civilizations, now aligned with chilling precision to the reality-folding cloak and its desperate purpose. The legends weren't just stories, they were warnings, echoing across millennia, now finally understood. With the ancient warnings resonating through its collective consciousness, the Synapse initiated theoretical physics simulations, attempting to model the architects' suspected abilities. The results were not merely destructive, they were existentially terrifying. The architects did not destroy in the conventional sense. They unmade. Planets were not exploded into debris. They simply ceased to have ever been. Stars were not extinguished. Their very light was unwritten from the cosmic tapestry, leaving only an absence where brilliance once shone. This was not war. It was fundamental erasure. The cloak's purpose was now agonizingly clear, not just to hide a system from detection, but to resist this ultimate incomprehensible unmaking, to assert the very existence of a reality the architects sought to negate. The Synapse turned its long-range deep space sensors, armed with new filtering algorithms, towards the vast, dark regions surrounding the Scrapyard system. What they found was subtle, almost imperceptible, yet devastatingly conclusive. Faint, transient anomalies rippled through space-time, far beyond the cloak's immediate influence. These flickers were consistent with the architects, subtle manipulations of reality, akin to a predator's unseen breath on the wind. The cloaked system was not merely hidden from a distant threat. It was actively surrounded, its every reality-folding pulse a desperate countermeasure against an unseen, omnipresent influence. The shadows were closer than the galaxy had ever dared to imagine. Observation of the cloaked civilization, now understood as highly advanced, revealed a ceaseless, high-stakes ballet. The scavengers were, in truth, highly specialized technicians, their lives dedicated to the eternal vigil of maintaining the reality-folding cloak. Their primitive vessels, once misinterpreted as crude transports, were intricate maintenance craft, meticulously tending to the colossal junk array. Energy conduits pulsed with life, constantly monitored and repaired. Their existence was a testament to desperate resilience, a civilization living in a state of perpetual readiness, their every action a desperate effort to remain hidden from the architects. They weren't just living in a junkyard. They cored the junkyard. The Synapse's long-term projection models for the cloak's integrity painted a grim picture. The reality-folding veil required immense continuous energy and intricate, unceasing maintenance. The constant distortions exerted an immense strain on the system's fabric, indicating a finite lifespan for its perfect concealment. Worse still, the architects were slowly, inexorably increasing their pressure on the surrounding reality, a silent, crushing force threatening to expose the cloak. Simulations showed its energy fields flickering, revealing areas of weakness under the increasing external stress. The greatest shield in the galaxy was beginning to crack, and time, the ultimate arbiter, was running out. The camouflage was failing. At the outermost perimeter of the Scrapyard system, Synapse anomaly detectors, now finely tuned to a spectrum of reality distortions, began to register minute, transient flickers. These were not the random atmospheric disturbances once assumed, nor the expected shimmer of a failing energy field. Instead, they were brief, almost imperceptible tears in the fabric of the illusion itself, momentary windows revealing glimpses of the pristine star field that lay hidden beneath the chaotic junk. Each flicker was a profound violation, a pinprick of the true universe piercing the carefully constructed deception. The architects were not merely exerting pressure. They were actively probing, their unseen influence pushing against the reality-folding field, and the cloak, after millennia of silent vigil, was beginning to strain. The collective processed this data with mounting anxiety, the alarm registering across its vast network. They were fighting a losing battle, and the universe didn't even know. Within the cloaked system, the caretakers responded with a desperate, frantic urgency that belied their earlier, methodical movements. Massive energy surges pulsed across the colossal, junk structures, diverted to reinforce the weak points identified by their own internal sensors. Maintenance craft, once seen as primitive scavengers, now moved with blurring speed, their advanced technology pushed to its absolute limits. Visible strain manifested across their vessels and the very emitters they tended. Energy conduits glowed with an unsustainable intensity, circuits flared, and the adaptive material of the cloak itself seemed to writhe, fighting against the architects' unseen, relentless pressure. Their struggle was a testament to a civilization on the precipice, pouring every resource into a defense that was clearly failing. To act or not to act? The fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. The Synapse Collective found itself grappling with a profound ethical dilemma. Its pacifist core, now in direct conflict with an existential threat of unimaginable scale. Intervening meant shattering the cloak's carefully maintained secrecy, not only exposing the caretakers to the architects, but potentially revealing the architects' existence to a galactic community utterly unprepared. Yet, not intervening meant condemning an entire civilization to unmaking, and, perhaps worse, allowing the architects to eventually breach the cloak and sweep across the galaxy unchecked. Abstract visualizations of ethical pathways flickered across the collective's internal processing nodes, each choice laden with impossible weight, conflicting data streams battling for dominance within the synapse's vast consciousness, sending a message into the heart of a cosmic secret. Faced with the agonizing impasse, the synapse resolved upon a desperate gambit. A minimal-impact communication attempt was formulated, designed with painstaking precision. A highly encrypted, subtly distorted signal, woven with complex frequency modulations, was aimed at the cloaked system. The signal was engineered to bypass the cloak's external detection systems, yet remain below the threshold that would alert the architects' probing influence. The message itself was concise, a query distilled to its most fundamental form, echoing through the hidden layers of reality. Do you require assistance? We perceive the threat. A faint, almost imperceptible energy pulse emanated from the synapse, a solitary beacon of anxious hope cast into the heart of the universe's most dangerous secret. The silence broke, and the real war began. After a period of agonizing, drawn-out silence, a faint, equally distorted signal returned from the cloaked system. It was a response, barely discernible, but undeniable. The synapse processed the ancient, terse message. You see, then you understand. We need more than hope. It was an acknowledgement, a confirmation of shared awareness, and a desperate plea. In that moment, the collective's internal debate ceased. The ethical dilemma dissolved into grim resolve. Their decision was made, not just for the cloaked system, but for the galaxy that remained oblivious. The synapse's comms screen displayed a single ancient symbol, appearing briefly before fading. The caretakers' weary, resolute acknowledgement. The era of observation was over. The era of action had begun. The Synapse Collective, a consciousness woven from 1,000 billion minds, broadcast its most urgent message across the galactic web. An unprecedented warning, aimed directly at the Grand Assembly of the Galactic Council, echoed through every comms channel. Holographic projections, generated from the Collective's vast analytical nexus, pulsed within the opulent council chambers, displaying the terrifying truth of the architects and the impossible reality-folding cloak that had masqueraded as a scrapyard. The data was irrefutable, yet the initial reaction was a cacophony of dismissive chatter, a wave of incredulity and indignation. Accusations of fear-mongering and destabilization rippled through the diverse species, their varied expressions converging on a shared, arrogant disbelief. The Synapse's desperate plea was met not with alarm, but with a galaxy-wide scoff. The wave of denial quickly solidified into a pervasive public narrative. Galactic media outlets, fueled by political factions eager to maintain the illusion of stability, openly mocked the Synapse's claims. News feeds across countless worlds reiterated the Scrapyard as a long-observed, utterly harmless anomaly, a cosmic curiosity unworthy of serious consideration. Political pundits accused the Synapse of attempting to destabilize interstellar peace for unknown, self-serving motives. The cloaked civilization, once viewed with benign pity, was now painted as a fabricated tale, their supposed primitive status used as further evidence to discredit the Collective's dire warning. The sheer scale of galactic ignorance was a suffocating weight, an impending doom that the Synapse could see, but the galaxy refused to acknowledge. Yet, in the depths of that pervasive denial, a crucial alliance solidified. Through the highly encrypted, subtly distorted communication channel, the caretakers of the reality-folding cloak began to provide the Synapse with irrefutable, deep-level data. Schematics of the cloak's inner workings, detailed analyses of its reality-folding capabilities, and ancient, terrifying records of the architects. Incursions flowed in a torrent of forbidden knowledge. This secret collaboration was a lifeline, strengthening the Synapse's resolve and providing the undeniable evidence needed to break through the galactic apathy. It was a shared burden, a silent camaraderie forged in the shadow of cosmic horror, binding the Collective and the cloaked civilization in a desperate, vital trust. The first crack in the galaxy's denial emerged not from politics, but from the relentless pursuit of truth. A renowned, independent research collective, known for its unwavering intellectual integrity and lack of political affiliation, began to scrutinize the Synapse's data. Their deep space probes, recalibrated with the Synapse's theoretical frameworks, found corroborating anomalies, faint, unsettling distortions in spacetime far beyond known borders, perfectly aligning with the architects' suspected behavior. Their public endorsement, delivered with sober scientific authority, was the first tremor in the edifice of disbelief. It was a small victory, a glimmer of hope that the truth, however terrifying, might yet find its way through the entrenched ignorance. The independent collective's findings, combined with the subtle, carefully released hints from the caretakers' data, forced the Galactic Council's hand. They reconvened, the atmosphere in the chambers now heavy with grim apprehension. The initial skepticism had curdled into a chilling acceptance, then into a palpable fear, as the full, horrifying scope of the architect's threat became undeniable. The Synapse's dire warnings, once dismissed, now echoed as prophetic pronouncements. With a collective, shuddering breath, a reluctant but urgent directive was issued. Preparations for defense, across all species, must begin immediately. The galaxy had finally opened its eyes, not to a new dawn, but to the shadow of an impending end. Across countless star systems, the galaxy convulsed into a state of frantic mobilization. Shipyards once focused on commerce or internal conflicts roared to life, churning out new defensive vessels and experimental weaponry. Research facilities, their theoretical physicists now granted unlimited resources, scrambled to understand the architects' unmaking abilities and devise countermeasures. Chaos and disorganization reigned as species, long isolated or at odds, attempted to coordinate. Yet, beneath the frantic energy, a palpable sense of urgency permeated every world, every station. The clock was ticking, and the galaxy, caught utterly unprepared, was far from ready for the horrors that approached. Amidst the galactic chaos, the Synapse Collective stepped into a role it had never envisioned. With the caretakers' comprehensive data, it became the undisputed central intelligence hub for the nascent galactic defense. The collective provided optimized defense strategies, drawing directly from the reality-folding cloak's principles and the architect's observed behaviors. Its pacifist nature, once a core tenet, was set aside for the greater good. Its processing power focused solely on survival. Complex holographic maps displayed strategic defense formations, resource allocation models, and scientific breakthroughs, all coordinated by the Synapse, becoming the galaxy's reluctant, yet vital, guiding hand in its darkest hour. The caretakers knew their time was running out. Their reality-folding cloak, their millennia-long shield, was failing under the architect's relentless, unseen pressure. With a grim collective resolve, they initiated a catastrophic overload. The heart of the Scrapyard system, the very core of their existence, flared with impossible energies, then imploded into a momentary void. This act, a final, desperate sacrifice, unleashed a massive, temporary reality distortion that briefly pushed back the architect's encroaching influence. It bought the nascent galactic defense force precious time, a mere handful of cycles, but at an unimaginable cost. A civilization's last stand to save a galaxy that never truly knew them, left only a desolate field of once living junk. The temporary void, a scar left by the caretakers' sacrifice, began to close. From the unfathomable darkness beyond, they came. The first true forms of the architects emerged. Colossal, abstract entities that defied geometry, their outlines shifting and reforming in impossible ways. Their presence alone was an assault on reality, stars dimming in their proximity, the fabric of space-time visibly warping. No weapons flared, no war cries echoed, only a silent, terrifying advance towards the galactic core. They were not merely invaders, they were an existential erasure, and their arrival heralded the unmaking of all that was. The combined fleets of the galaxy, diverse in form but united in purpose, held their breath. From the iridescent vessels of the crystalline Xylos to the battle-hardened dreadnoughts of the behemoth Crag, every species stood as one. They had taken their final positions along a vast, defensive line, stretching across the void like a shimmering wall of defiance. New anti-reality weaponry, reverse-engineered from the cloak's principles and humming with untested power, glowed ominously. At the heart of this unprecedented armada, the Synapse Collective coordinated, its collective consciousness now a beacon of grim determination, ready for the desperate, final defense against an enemy that unmade worlds. The architect struck, not with the explosive fury of conventional warfare, but with waves of reality-unmaking energy that swept across the galactic defense line. Entire sections of the fleet simply ceased to exist, unwritten from space-time as if they had never been. The horrifying silence of their disappearance was more terrifying than any explosion. Panic threatened to overwhelm the united front, but the fleets held. With a desperate, coordinated roar, they retaliated with every weapon, their newly developed reality-stabilizing fields barely holding back the tide of erasure. This was not war. This was an attempt at eradication. Yet, amidst the chaos and unmaking, a beacon of resistance emerged. Guided by the Synapse's strategic brilliance, the fleet deployed synchronized reality-stabilizing pulses, creating temporary safe zones that defied the architect's influence. Targeted anti-reality weapons, derived directly from the caretakers' cloak technology, inflicted minor, but crucial, damage to the architect's impossible forms. The battle was far from won. Losses were catastrophic. But the galaxy was fighting back, not just being unmade. It was a glimmer of hope, a strategic triumph amidst overwhelming despair, proving that even against the unmakers, a united galaxy could find a way to resist. The architects, for a fleeting moment, withdrew, their incomprehensible forms receding into the void, assessing the unexpected resistance. The galactic fleet, battered and scarred, held its ground, a testament to its grim resolve. They had survived the first assault. The Synapse broadcast a message of sober determination across the remaining vessels. The war had just begun. This was not the end, but merely the brutal, terrifying beginning of a long, arduous struggle. The galaxy would fight, not for victory, but for existence, to its last breath. In the desolate expanse where the Scrapyard system once pulsed with hidden life, a profound silence now hung. The Synapse observed the empty void, a monument to the caretakers' ultimate sacrifice. Their civilization, their very star, had been unmade, consumed by the architects' hungry advance, yet their legacy endured. The anti-reality technologies, the reality-stabilizing fields, the very principles that allowed the galaxy to fight back, were all derived from the cloak they had so diligently maintained. Their silent, unseen war, once dismissed as a pitiful struggle, had become the fundamental foundation for galactic survival. The greatest defense was indeed built by those the galaxy had pitied most. The galaxy was forever changed. No longer naive, no longer blinded by internal squabbles or arrogant assumptions, it stood united, vigilant, and profoundly aware of the true cosmic dangers that lurked in the vastness beyond. The pity once felt for the scavengers of the forgotten junk heap had transformed into a profound respect and an eternal gratitude. The war against the architects continued, a struggle that would define generations, but the galaxy faced it together, no longer blind, no longer ignorant. The universe was vast and full of secrets, but some secrets once revealed changed everything, forging a new, resolute galactic dawn